Greetings and welcome to In Depth. I'm Dike Rostant, and cervical cancer is highlighted in the month of January. The Ayanna S Dyette Foundation, it seeks to fulfill a vision of saving lives through education, prevention, and eradication of cervical cancer. We're joined by director and co-founder Paige Ribiero Agard. She joins us along with marketing and PR executive Salene Griffith to discuss their core values and upcoming events. Welcome, ladies. Thanks so much for making the time. Paige, I want to start off with you, please. Let's build it from the ground up. What is cervical cancer?
Wow. Hi, afternoon, by the way. But cervical cancer essentially is cancer of the cervix. A lot of people may ask, funny enough, what is the cervix or where is the cervix located? And it's actually that opening area that connects the uterus and the vagina on a female. So just to reiterate, or I should pin this in there, cervical cancer affects women only because the cervix is what we have. Of course, we now have the different stages of cervical cancer, but it is caused by, or the majority of cases rather, caused by the human papillomavirus, known as HPV.
And with that, we hear that it's highly preventable, yet multiple diagnoses and deaths attributed to cervical cancer. What was the gap that we're missing, Paige?
Education. A big, if not the majority of it, is education. And we would have really discovered that while we did our work. Because as we go out there trying to do the outreach and trying to educate and really decipher what don't the public know, we realize it's a lot, if not everything. You mentioned that cervical cancer is extremely preventable, and some of the preventative measures that isn't even a norm in a lot of women's everyday health regime or even a part of their vocabulary. So yes, I do think that a big gap is within the education aspect of it, which we really decided that we have to dedicate a big part of our efforts to the education aspect. And this is not just for adults, but within the school system as well, because it starts from a young age. The education aspect, that is.
Okay, and with that, let me bring you in, please, Salene. In terms of, is it, and other things though, I hear education. Is it diet? Is it the healthcare system focusing on other issues, so possibly not spending as much time on education? Why is there such a divide in Caribbean cases as opposed to some another region like, say, North America?
I think it's largely, good evening to your listeners. I think it's a large extent of it has to do with the way that we live our lives in the Caribbean. Yes. So we are now hearing the conversations about women's health and health in general. But the way that we treat our bodies in the Caribbean is far different from other regions in the world. And I love the fact that the conversation is taking place because you're hearing it a lot now that people are taking care of themselves, making sure not just the mental health aspect, but their bodies as well. And so with organizations like ours and many others, in terms of taking care of your body, you hear that conversation very heavily going on.
And so Paige would have started and spoke about, well, cited HPV. What is that link though, in terms of how does one lead to the other?
Right. So HPV, the human papillomavirus, is one of the most common sexually transmitted infections we have. And the reality is there are over 100 types of HPV, but there are two specific, which we call high-risk HPV, that directly lead to cervical cancer. And the studies have shown that approximately 80% of those cervical cancer cases are caused by HPV. Now, the prevalence of HPV within the society is extremely high. Granted, naturally, your body fights off the majority of the times you may have contracted HPV because it would have been a low-risk HPV strain.
Yeah.
But there are cases where you have the high-risk strains that would also lead to things like genital warts in both male and female. And that's something that I do want to bring up because as much as we're speaking about cervical cancer, and I mentioned that this is specific to women, HPV isn't. HPV is prevalent within both sides of the spectrum. We have male and female. And there are actually types of different types of cancers that are caused by HPV that will affect the male. The prevalence isn't as high, meaning the actual rate, but it's still there. And those would be things like anal cancer, penile cancer, sorry, throat cancer, etc. But definitely the link between the HPV and cervical cancer would be those two high-risk strains that directly leads to it.
And I'm glad you raised that because I'm listening to you ladies and I was going to say man again in terms of like both men and women can have HPV, but at the same time, I thought there was a lot more manifesting or possibilities manifesting with women with regard to diseases. But you spoke about genital warts, Paige, and Salene, I want to ask you though, outside of something like that, genital warts, how do people monitor themselves? How do you say, okay, well, something isn't right, I want to go in, possibly leading to a diagnosis being done?
Well, for the large to a large extent, you don't just look to see when something appears. It's all about prevention. So in the first instance, you need to go and get tested, and this is one of the things that we are very much advocating for. Apart from the education part of it, get tested because early detection can definitely save your life. Cervical cancer is definitely treatable, one of the most treatable cancers that exists. So thank God for that. So once you have an early detection, obviously, it can be treated as you go along. So getting your pap smears done, making sure that you make your gynecological appointment to get your pap smears done. And if there's further tests to be done, then you and your doctor can go through that. But the salient point here is making sure that you get yourself tested. You don't wait until you see a secretion or get an odor or anything like that. Don't wait on that because most likely it will be in the advanced stage if it is that you have. We know that there are other diseases that women can get, but just to be on the safe side, treat your little lady right.
And with regard to that and treating people the way they're supposed to be treated, what kind of age we're looking at in terms of saying, okay, well, now is the time for me to start getting tested? They talk about fellas, okay, well, around age 40, then you start going to check your prostate. Where does pap smears and other sorts of things in terms of like going and making your appointments, where does that come in? At what age?
Right.
But I would say from the time that you're sexually active.
Yeah, so it is definitely when you're sexually active.
And we know the society that we live in, and we have to be realistic. Sexually active females and males are probably around the age of 13, 14 and beyond. So once you're sexually active, you start getting tested.
Yeah.
In addition to the fact that the HPV vaccination as well, we want to make sure that our youth are vaccinated from the age of, is it 10?
Yeah, well, even from 10, 11. So just so if you go online, however, you will see age 21 is when you want to start your pap smear. But as Salene would have rightfully said, we need to be realistic as a society. Are our youth starting sexual activity at 21 years old? The majority of them, no. The majority of them is prior to that. So therefore, you want to encourage them to do the right thing and start treating sexual health as an important aspect of your health regime.
Yes.
And in terms of the vaccination, definitely, we have some young girls who would start going through puberty from as young as 9.
Yeah.
And because of that, you would find there's some stories or cases where persons would have started the vaccination process from as young as 9 years old in females, but definitely boys and girls, age 11 onward, for sure. So once you're below 15 years old, you only have to take 2 doses. Anything above 15, you have 3 doses of the shot.
And one with which we have a minute, but I want to ask, where do you get these vaccines? And also, Salene, is there a look in terms of some people may start puberty at around 9? Is it a matter of how heavy you are? Is it a matter of how tall you are? Is there any sort of demographic that they say, okay, well, this person's a little more likely to possibly have to look out for cervical cancer?
Not necessarily. That is something that it could be hereditary as well. And in many cases, we have heard that the mother or the grandmother would have had cervical cancer. We know cancer in general, a large part of it is hereditary, but it's all about lifestyle. It's all about diet. and it's important for us to, you know, focus on that sort of information.
All right, and with that, we take a short break. We're coming back. We're talking about cervical cancers, the ways that we can deal with them. We're doing so with the Ayanna S Dyette Foundation representatives, Paige Ribiero Agard, as well as Salene Griffith. Stay with us. We'll return with more. Welcome back. We are speaking about cervical cancer. We're doing so with Salene Griffith, the PR executive on marketing and PR executive, as well as director and co-founder of the Ayanna S Dyette Foundation, Paige Ribiero Agard. And Paige, just before we continue, and I want to get actually some of the work of the foundation, where do you get the vaccinations for HPV? Where are they accessible?
So it is accessible for free, 99. This is the big F word here, for free at your health centers.
Yeah.
Usually we advise persons to call from beforehand just to ensure that the schedule for each health center is up to date, because they may change which they do vaccines. It's not done every day. But yes, definitely free at the health centers, and of course you can do it privately with your gynecologist. There are a lot of them that offer it privately. I am not searching up anywhere else off the top of my head, but I do know other labs that would actually offer it. But the health center, it is free. Free.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're talking about. And but in terms of marketing and PR, Salene, let me know now. And what are some of the like-minded bodies that you'll be reaching out with? Who are some of the people that you partner with? What are some of the things that you look for in terms of saying, yes, we want to work with you?
Oh my goodness. We've been doing quite a lot of outreach, and really, really happy for that. Especially the organization has been in existence for 4 years, and we've been doing quite a lot of outreach. So I'm very proud of our progress so far. And actually, I want to plug in that today is actually Ayanna's birthday, the 10th of January. Today is actually her birthday. So, and the outreach exercises, activities rather, that we've been doing, we've been partnered with the Cancer Society, doing the mobile screening unit. So every 2 weeks, we would normally go to various areas, and we've been trying to focus more so on the rural areas, getting the women engaged. And I have to say, I'm very proud of our ladies, because quite a few have said to us that they know about it, or they've gone to the health center already. You know, so you would think that people who lack actual education, and I'm not trying to say you're profiling anyone, but we would think that they didn't have access to information. Oh boy, do they. And I was very proud for that. And so it's very well attended, the mobile screening units that we go to all over the country with the Cancer Society. Also, we would have done a 5K. We have a 5K that we do every year, but this is our 4th one that's happening on the 21st of January. Yes. Also on our, but we'll talk about the 5K a little later on. But also on our social media pages, we have been very interactive with the public in terms of sharing information, educating about cervical cancer. Also the cancer, what's the name of the organization again? Cancer Research
the Caribbean Cancer Research
Institute.
Yeah, Institute.
Yes.
They're also on our side. I mean, they deal with the statistics, and we need them, because at the end of the day, you have to make sure that your efforts are making sense, that you're putting in the work and we're seeing the results, and they have seen that, or they can definitely attest to that.
Also PSI Caribbean,
yes,
they've been partnering with us for quite a while. PSI Caribbean, the support has been tremendous. Also My Sister's Keeper, we would have partnered with them about in 2019, yes, for the PAP party. So that's also coming up in the month of April. So we have two major events coming up this year. So that's the 5K on the 21st, and then the PAP party that's happening in partnership with My Sister's Keeper. We're doing that in the month of April. So lots of outreach has been taking place. Oh, and we also had a buddy program within the ASDF where some of the patients, each of the founding members would have been assigned a buddy. We call them buddies. And so to take care of them, to check upon them, check in with their families and stuff like that. That has been amazing. Amazing having to interact with these women, them sharing their stories as well. Unfortunately, we would have lost them to cervical cancer.
All of them.
Yeah.
And I really want that to be the driving point, that the prevalence is there, the science, or rather there is a particular statistic that every 2 minutes a woman dies from cervical cancer. And for us, you know, being involved with the bodies and with us losing them within a year span, that's only 12 months. And I'm speaking a young lady as young as 25. That's who I was closest to, despite more so because of the age, was really, really disheartening. And it was a huge reminder that what we are doing is extremely important. And the fact that the science is there,
Yes.
and we know what has to be done, we are fully committed and ready to eradicate cervical cancer. I do have one more point to make. You spoke about the marketing and PR, and as you can see, Salene and I have on our lovely teal ribbons because teal is cervical cancer color, teal and white actually. And these ribbons are actually seen around Linda's Bakery in Trinidad and Tobago, a couple of their outlets. So you can take a ribbon, leave a donation. You feel free to buy your cupcakes. You know, part proceeds go back towards the foundation. But you know, there's so many ways people can get involved, show the support, and most importantly, feel the team.
And one of the ways that people can do that is to take part in this activity that you all have on the 21st. So in the time that we have, let me know what's going on with the 5K.
Ooh,
A lot of excitement, a lot of excitement. I mean, we have giveaways all the time.
Yes. We have giveaways, and now that it's carnival season, we have pet tickets giving away as well. But it's really, and the fact that this is our first year back outside. We had 2 virtual because we never stopped. We never stopped 5K, so we did 2 virtual 5Ks throughout the pandemic. So we had people from around the world taking part in our 5K, and that was fantastic.
It was.
Yeah. We had people from around the world taking part, as well as there were people from Trinidad and Tobago and the region who are very, very much interested in coming out to walk. So it's happening on the 21st of January at QRC, at the QRC grounds at 3:45 p.m.
Correct. Race starts at 4 sharp. So
Yeah.
3:45 to 4, we have the warm up. At this moment, we also have like group registrations. So register 10 or more persons, you get 2 registrations free. Our t-shirts are also on sale. T-shirts and vest, sorry. Those are $75, and regular registration costs $100 for adults. Of course, that group registration I mentioned to you before, you got a whopping $20 off, so it's $80 per person. And of course, we have a student rate because we can't forget our youngins. I mean, the youth is the future generation, so we need them to carry forth this mantra and the messaging. Exactly. So we have a special student rate of $55.
All right, so we want to thank you so much, ladies. And also, just before we close, just quick, how do people follow you? Where do you get more information so that they can become a part of this for the 5K and beyond?
Great. On our Facebook and Instagram pages, we have the Ayanna S Dyette Foundation for cervical cancer. That's the name of the Facebook page. And on Instagram, it's at Ayanna Dyette Foundation.
All right, so thank you so much, ladies. And remember, it's the 21st of January. We're inside the carnival season. Get there by 3:45 so you can warm up yourself before you start.
And we have live entertainment as well, so it's going to be rad.
Yes. And some food.
We're feeling the tea. Thank you so much. And on behalf of the entire TTT family, this has been In Depth with me. Thank you so much for joining us.